Hello, Math 6 Plus students. This video was requested by some of you on your exit slips, and it is meant to help you with distributing and combining like terms. Overall, you're doing really well, but I've noticed that your sticking point is keeping track of your negatives. So I'm going to go through a strategy with you that I use to help me make sure that I always remember to distribute my negative. I would have a piece of paper out so we can work through some examples. So a quick reminder of the distributive property. Let's say I have negative 2 times the quantity of 3x minus 4. So I personally like to circle my negative. And for the sake of this problem, I'm going to treat this as if my subtraction symbol is a negative. So the first thing I do is I determine if I'm going to have a positive or a negative term. So I will say this is a positive, my 3x. So negative times a positive gives me a negative, and then 2 times 3x is 6x. And then I won't write down this symbol. I'm going to test and see first. So a negative times a negative gives me a positive. 2 times 4 is 8. So this way, I get rid of my worry of is it negative, is it positive right away. I use this for every problem I do. So let's say I have negative 3 times negative 2y plus 5. I'm going to circle my negative so I remember it's there. And I'm going to take my negative times my negative, which gives me a positive. And then 3 times 2y is 6y. And then I'm going to take my negative times a positive gives me a negative. So I know this is a subtraction symbol. And then 3 times 5 is 15. So I have positive 6y, which you could just write as 6y minus 15. Let's look at a different problem. So let's take something similar to what you saw in your quiz. You may have had 3 minus 4 times the quantity of x plus 2y minus 3y. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is to kind of section off this center portion. So I know that before I can combine any of my like terms, I have to distribute. And now I'm going to circle my negative. So in my mind, I've turned my subtraction sign into a negative, and I know I need to distribute that with my 4. So I'm going to say negative times a positive. This is going to be a negative term. 4 times x gives me 4x. Then I'm going to take my negative again. Negative times a positive is a negative. So I know this is minus whatever this term is. 4 times 2y is 8y. And then I can just bring down the rest of my problem. So it's 3 minus 4x minus 8y minus 3y. And now I'm on to combining like terms. So this is my apples and bananas idea. If I have an apple, it is different than a banana, and I can't smush them together and make a brand new fruit. So I can't smush together and take my x and add it to my y and get xy. It doesn't work like that because we have to keep the nature of the problem. If we have addition and subtraction, you need to stay with addition and subtraction. So I have 2 y's, or 2y terms. I have an x term, and I have a constant. So the only thing I can actually combine are my 2 greens, which would be my y's. So I can say 3 minus 4x, and then I have a negative 8 and a negative 3y. So negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11y. So this is my finished expression. This is as simple as I can get it. Let's look at a different one. Let's say I have 3xy minus 5 times the quantity of x minus 2y plus 6x. So the first thing I need to look at is that I have to distribute because I have parentheses in this problem and a number being multiplied on the outside. I'm going to circle that subtraction symbol that in my mind has become a negative, and I'm going to take negative times a positive, excuse me, that's going to give me a negative. 5 times x is 5x. My negative times another negative, so negative times negative is a positive, so this is going to be plus 5 times 2y is 10y. And then I can just bring the rest of my problem down. So now it's time to identify my terms. Excuse me. I have xy. X times y is different than x and is different than y, so it's by itself. And then I have x, so both going to be green, and then I have yellow. So I know I can combine my greens, and that's the only thing I can combine. Personal preference for me is I like to use the commutative property of addition and rewrite my problem. So 3xy minus 5x. I'm going to change this grouping because I want to move my 6x over, plus 6x plus 10y. And this way I have my x's together, and so for me it's easier to see that this is what can be combined. So I have 3xy stays the same because I can't combine it. I have a negative 5x plus 6x. That leaves me with 1x plus x plus 10y because I can't combine it with anything. So this is my most simplified expression. 3xy plus x plus 10y. xy, x times y, is different than just an x or just a y, so I cannot combine them. This last problem, I want you to try it on your own first, and then I will go over it in this video. English is hard sometimes. So let's say I have 5x minus 2x times the quantity of x minus y plus 3y times the quantity of 2y plus 6x, all plus 10. Let's make this difficult. All right, so my first step is I need to section off my parts that I am distributing. So let's start with negative 2x times the quantity of x minus y. So I'm going to circle my negative. So negative times a positive is a negative. 2x times x. Remember, x times x is x squared. So this is 2x squared. Negative times a negative tells me this is a positive term. 2x times a y is 2xy. I can just bring down my 5x. And now I have a whole nother one I have to do. So in this case, I don't have that negative on the outside, so I don't have to worry about it, and I know that the signs are going to stay the same. So this looks to me plus 3y times 2y. 3 times 2 is 6. Y times y is y squared plus 3y times 6x. 3 times 6 is 18. X times y is xy. And then just bring down that plus 10. So now I have to identify my like terms. I'm going to choose pink for my x's. Looks like I only have one x. I'm going to choose green for my x squareds. Looks like I only have one x squared. I'm going to choose yellow for my xy's. Ooh, I've got 2 of those. I'm going to choose purple for my y squareds and blue for my constant. So the only thing I have double of is my xy terms. So I'm going to rewrite this problem and rearrange it, so use the commutative property to bring those xy's together. So 5x minus 2x squared plus 2xy plus 18xy plus 6y squared plus 10. Again, the only terms that I can combine are right here in the middle. Everything else stays the same. So I'm going to have 5x minus 2x squared plus 20xy plus 6y squared plus 10. So this is going to be your most simple expression. Technically, you should have your x squared and your y squared in the front, but that is not part of our learning target, and so that's not what we're going to concentrate on. Okay, I hope this video helped and that you tried this last problem by yourself, and I would just watch this over and over until you kind of click with it. All right.